Hello and welcome back to another Let's Play Planet Zoo. My name is Chris, and this is episode 20 of Perseid Zoo. In this episode, we begin work on our caribou enclosure. Now, if you're wondering where the caribou are in the game, they're the reindeer. Just here in North America, we call reindeer caribou. And since this is the Americas area of the zoo, we're calling them by the North American name, which is caribou. Well, actually, this is what we call them in the United States. So maybe Canada calls them reindeer, but I've always heard them called caribou. Everywhere I've gone in like the national parks, they're called caribou. So we're calling them caribou because that's what I'm used to. But anyway, yeah, I mean, they're the same animal. Caribou and reindeer are the same animal. They're probably a different subspecies in North America versus Europe, but I mean, they're the exact same animal. They just migrated it over the, ice fields from like Russia into Alaska and then down through Canada and then down into the northwest parts of the United States. So yeah, they're the same animal. One just got a little bit lost and crossed the North Pole. But anyway, we're building a little caribou island here. The thought of it is that as you come out of the Doll Sheep exposure, the Doll Sheep enclosure, there we go. You're going to come to a fork in the road, and in the fork in the road, there is this island that is going to be our caribou habitat. The island's kind of modeled after what I saw when I visited the Pacific Northwest. So if you ever go out on their waterways, you're going to see all these little islands kind of just dotting the waterway landscape. Landscape? Can you use landscape in water? Waterscape? Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. So if you're ever out there on a boat, you're going to see all these little islands, and they're kind of mysterious and kind of really cool looking. They're heavily wooded. They're kind of got like a bit of a rocky coastline. They're mysterious. You look at them and go, oh man, I kind of want to just jump off the boat and swim to that. Except it's really cold water, and that would probably be a bad idea because the currents are really strong. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of dying. But anyway, if I was Superman and had a wetsuit, actually, if I was Superman, I wouldn't need a wetsuit. I could just hey, I'm going to that island and be back in a flash. Yes, stick to the day job, Chris. Don't become a comedian. But anyway, there was all these cool little islands out there that look like they'd be a lot of fun to explore because they're like, oh man, they're natural, untainted, looking islands. So I kind of wanted to model the caribou exhibit after that, kind of like this natural island that no man has ever stepped foot on. So yeah, we put about, I think, like 6 caribou on it. So we're just kind of grabbing a couple from the trade center here. Something I like to do is place the animal before, at least something I've learned to do, maybe I should say it that way, is to place the animal in the enclosure before you start building it. This way you can watch the requirements for like the soil, or I guess the terrain. You can watch the requirements for the plants, and you can also watch how their nav mesh gets generated, which is really important, especially when you have to build a bridge like this, to make sure that you can still get the animals into the enclosure without, oh, you build your wonderful, nice bridge. Well, guess what? The animals can't walk on it. I mean, that would be horrible. So anyway, yeah, one thing I've learned is to drop the animals in the enclosure while you're working on it, because that nav mesh is super important for one, but also being able to monitor the terrain requirements. So as you're going through painting the terrain, you don't have to worry about, and I put too much dirt and not enough rock, and now I've got to go back and paint over my masterpiece here. So yeah, so we're just putting a little tiny bridge here. Nothing super fancy, super crazy. I was actually having a bit of building writer's block here during this episode, so it's one of the reasons why I went to build an enclosure and not, a building, which I had originally planned on starting work on the building. That would be the overlook into the Arctic wolves, and the Arctic wolves and the polar bears. So there's going to be like a little overlook where people can kind of walk up, and there may be a bathroom or a shop in there or something. But yeah, I was just really having creative writer's block during this episode, so I figured I'll go do some landscaping, because I'm usually pretty good about knowing what I want to do in terms of landscape. So yeah, this bridge is going to be a little bit simpler than what I've normally done, especially like the one for the doll sheep. That one was again kind of simple, but a little bit more elegant than this, I would say. But again, this is just going to be a bridge that the caribou go across, the keeper goes across, so it's not going to be anything fancy by any means. And it's not really going to be super visible. I also didn't really want it to be super visible, because it's, again, kind of a utility bridge, not a straight-on, artistic centerpiece, you might call it. So yeah, that's kind of why this one is. Yeah, we'll go with that story instead of Creator's Writer Block. No, this is exactly how I wanted it to be designed. It's wonderful. Look at this bridge. There's some sticks there, and this is all according to my artistic vision. No, I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, I was really struggling creatively with this bridge. It came out pretty cool. I'm happy with this one. I'm a lot more happier with this bridge than what I built for the enclosure fence, that's for sure. I've debated even showing the video. It's the last half of this episode, so we'll see it. But yeah, I mean, every now and again, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but you build something and like the creativity's just not there. Like, there's just no inspiration. Yeah, there's you can see it from here. While the nav mesh, I think, is recalculating, because that's why we froze. But you can see that overlook thing that I was building out over there. So that's what I first started building, and that's what episode 20 was going to be, was the overlook into the Arctic wolves and the polar bears. I just wasn't feeling it. Like, I tried a couple designs. I actually built this really kind of cool looking building, which I'm not sure when that episode is ever going to show, because I didn't delete the building, I saved the blueprint. But again, it just, like, I wasn't feeling it. Like, the building creativity wasn't there. So anyway, we went off and built instead our lovely Caribou Island. So like I was saying, it's going to be modeled after some of these islands I've seen in the Pacific Northwest. So a lot of really dense pine foliage, just kind of really covering this island. A lot of real kind of like old growth looking forests. So you're going to have a lot of really tall trees. There's not going to be a whole lot of undergrowth, because these trees they've gotten so old and so big that they choke out the sun. I also wanted to make sure it's nice and rocky. Again, kind of following that inspiration of these islands in the Pacific Northwest, and really kind of up through, I think it's British Columbia, and is it British Columbia? Is that where Vancouver is? Gosh, if I got that wrong, I'm gonna be so embarrassed. Let's double check here. Where is British Columbia? Maps. Oh, good. That is on the west side of Canada. Whew. That was close. I should not doubt my geography, but I do sometimes. Anyway, like I was saying, so you get these kind of like little rocky islands kind of dotting along the coastline that are really too small for any sort of development, so they're relatively left untouched. They're really kind of cool looking. If you ever get the chance to go out there, do like a little boat tour or something, or actually you probably don't want to rent your own boat, because those currents I hear are pretty treacherous, so don't want you going on vacation and you have, this guy on YouTube recommended we take a boat, and that's how we died. I would feel terrible. I probably wouldn't hear about it, but still, I would feel terrible if I recommended that and people did that. So, take a boat tour. Anyway, yeah, these are all kind of modeled after that. So, like, I'm putting in all these tall trees, kind of closer to the island's edges or shores. I'm putting in some smaller trees. The center part's got a whole lot of trees with it. I'm really glad that he made these pine trees realistic. So, I mean, realistic in the sense that they don't have branches and needles kind of on the bottom. So in these older growth forests, the sun's not going to reach the lower parts, so the tree's not going to waste its energy creating pine, or creating needles, or I guess leaves on some of these other trees for something that's not going to get sun. So you end up with these kind of nice walkable areas, not a whole lot of undergrowth in these forests, so you can, you know, from the outside they look really dense, really impassable, but on the inside, once you kind of get through that initial layer, you know, they're really quite walkable. You'll have places where there is like either like a felled tree or a rocky outcropping somewhere where one of these big trees can't grow, and there's a nice kind of patch of sun. Then you'll start seeing, you know, kind of like what we're doing here, like some of the more of these undergrowth fauna, yes, fauna's the plant one, right? Yeah. No, flora is the plant one, that's right. So you'll see some more of this undergrowth flora, you know, kind of like these bushes that were plopping down here around the rocks. So in my mind, you know, there's not going to be a lot of shade, so there's going to be a lot more sun in these areas, and that's going to allow some of these smaller things to actually grow and not be choked out light-wise from these larger trees. So like here in the front, you know, you can see there's a nice big sunny spot, so you even have new growth pine trees taking shape down there, because again, it's a nice sunny spot. It allows these kinds of trees and undergrowth, they're not competing with these old growth pine. That's kind of what I'm saying. Same thing with like flowers. You're not going to see a whole lot of flowering bushes or flowering, really flowering anything in really, well, I mean, there's exceptions to the rules, of course, but where you're getting a lot of sun, you're going to see more flowers, more wildflowers, more berries. So out here in the front of the island, I'm kind of envisioning this area is the side of the island that takes most of the weather. Either the current is kind of rushing that way, or the tides come in or out that way. It's kind of the windward side is my my guess and feel. So that front side of the island, that's why it's kind of lower and smoother than the rest of the island back here. I also want to have kind of a visual cue as you're walking in towards this enclosure. That, you know, if the island was like reversed, it would be a little unwelcoming. You know, because you're just met with this big rock and this big, you know, wall of trees. Whereas the other side, it kind of gradually turns into this this heavily forested island. It is not just a, you know, a landscape wall, if you will. I'm also being careful, you know, along the coasts here to leave it open. This way, if the animals do come out towards this area, they're more on display. You know, they have a nice kind of backdrop behind them. They're not super, what's the word I'm looking for? Obscured by the landscape. But at the same time, you know, they can go back up into the woods and be in a relative, you know, private area. So just adding a few more bits of rock work here. Again, trying to sell the illusion that this is very cliff-like, very, you know, very much a rocky area underneath the island here. And that's probably one of the reasons why it's there, is that there's just a, you know, big chunk of rock, you know, jutting out of the water here, and that's why there's an island allowed to form. And again, I'm thinking that these cliff faces also allow a kind of like stage area for the animal. So if they were to walk out there onto that point, you know, they'd be a bit more on display, you know, almost like they walked out on stage. So it adds kind of a nice visual element as well. So I'm placing a lot of deadfall on this side of the island in particular, again, because I want to kind of sell the illusion that maybe the water is flowing this way, so anything from upstream or up tide, I don't know if that's what you would call it. I grew up near the coast, I should know these terms and words, but yeah, so anything would kind of flow into this island from this direction. So as like these big trees that may have, you know, been driftwood elsewhere, they come down this little river or channel or what have you, they would hit this island and you know, beach themselves on the island. I do go a little bit overboard here on the trees. I tried to make like a big driftwood pile, but the trees we have are just too big. We don't really have a lot of that white tree in like a smaller form. So yeah, I believe a couple and just kind of leave a pile of two there. But anyway. Yep, still kind of just working on the front of the island here. Again, it's going to be more in the sun. There's not a whole lot of old growth forest, as you can see. So the idea is a lot more of this undergrowth, under canopy stuff can grow out here. It's also why we got a bunch of new growth pine trees, you know, these short little stubby ones, because again, they can grow. They're getting sun out here, but you know, maybe this is a part of the island that again gets a lot more weather, a lot more extreme conditions. The backside of the island here, so where those trees are allowed to grow maybe for a couple years, eventually something comes across, you know, either like a large rain or large storm every 5-10 years and just wipes all that out, and then, you know, starts over. So So yeah, that's why I'm not putting a whole lot of big trees out there. Some more rock work here. Again, making our kind of little cliff faces. But anyway, that's pretty much the end of the enclosure build there. Now we're going to start work on the enclosure fence. I was just trying to get a little fence here that's about like 3 feet tall or so about a meter tall. Maybe a meter and a half. I can't remember how tall this is exactly, but yeah, you know, just like waist high. Maybe a little bit more, like just kind of like between the waist and the chest. I guess like belly button high. That's like 3 feet, right? Anyway, like I was saying, you know, I was having a bit of builder's writing block. Builder's building block, maybe that's how we call it. I'm not super thrilled with this fence. It might be something we revisit in another episode and rebuild, but I mean, it doesn't look bad, but I don't know, like it just doesn't look fantastic either. I was debating whether or not even showing it in this video, but I was like, it's not that long. It's like 10 minutes of a build, so we'll show it. Maybe someone can draw some inspiration off of what I built here. Personally, I'm only like medium on it. Like it's not something I look at and go, ooh, that's a good one. It's just kind of like, But yeah, I'll build it here and let you guys kind of be the judge if you like it or not. But it might be something I go back and rebuild. So I'm not super crazy about it. I mean, right there, you know, by itself, it looks kind of neat, right? And then you go and duplicate it all the way down, and it just starts looking like, yeah, this is, I don't know, like, I don't want to call it bad, because I don't think it's bad. It's just not interesting. And maybe it doesn't need to be. I mean, it's just an enclosure fence. You know, maybe it just needs to sit there and be decent looking and not necessarily be an interesting feature. Because again, the animal should be the main interest, the main feature. But I don't know. I mean, I want my stuff to look good. Put this little like design in here. I was trying to find something that would be kind of interesting, just a little bit of a pattern. Kind of looks like a, you know, what was that game? Like Simon Says. Oh, I also found this canoe. To completely lose track here. So, so I found that canoe and I was going to put it there on the front. I don't remember why I didn't. I think it was, again, like a Chris, focus on what you're doing. Don't get distracted here. We're done with the enclosure for now. So let's work on this fence. Yeah, I mean, just trying like all kinds of things, like different art shapes, just trying to find something that would fit here. Nothing was really working for me. So yeah, I think I'm probably trying to look up designs and ideas now. It's, I don't know, like, it's not bad, it's just not great. I don't know, you guys let me know your opinion, whether it looks, maybe I'm being too critical, maybe it looks fine, but to me it just looks eh. So I was trying with the little switches here to get more of a gradient rather than just the, I don't know, Simon Says board I had there before, which I think I probably should have left it like this. I think this looks better, than the Little Simon Says board. But after I did it, it wasn't really looking the way I envisioned it. So since it wasn't looking the way I envisioned it, it got deleted. Not that the Simon Says board was any better, mind you. But yeah, I mean, you drag it out and, I don't know, it just doesn't look great. Again, maybe I'm being too critical, but it felt very meh. I'm desperately throwing shapes on here, like, please, something work. I have a video to put out. Yeah, this color pattern looks a little bit better than the Simon Says board, but it still looks like, I don't know, like a video game controller. It's the best thing I could come up with, okay? Stuff's hard. There's a lot of pressure. I'm just making sure that the animal cannot indeed jump over my little fence here, which luckily they can. So I'm gonna probably landscape the front of this. I haven't done it yet. Just adding a little bit of little flower bed here in front. Was a pain in the butt, let me tell you. For some reason, the thin planks, when you do that kind of multi-select, they don't always select all of them. I don't know what it is. Like, you can highlight over the whole thing, it won't select the entire thing. So I don't know what it is about it, but yeah, it makes it a little bit tricky to do these duplicate moves when it doesn't actually bring out the entire board, or rather highlight all the boards. So you know, one more thing to gripe about. Yeah, again, like in small doses, this fence looks really neat, but once you go and duplicate it all the way out, I don't know what it is. Again, maybe it's just my own personal taste or something, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. I had the idea here to put a TV screen, one of these habitat screens, but then realized, well, that's going to block the end, or the view of the exhibit right in, as you're walking up to it. So nixed that idea. Was then going to grab some of Ricey's fonts here, which I hope I pronounced that right. I was going to put those on there, but I actually cut that part out because it just wasn't working out for me. So that's the end of the video here. We'll close out with some cinematics, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.